The rain hammered the tin roof like gunfire. I woke gasping, heart slamming against my ribs, the phantom crack of the dumbbell still echoing in my skull. Blood on the floor. Rachel's fake tears. Liam's frozen horror too late to matter. I was dead. I remembered dying. Then light stabbed my eyes. The same cramped bedroom in rural Texas. Same threadbare quilt. Same cracked ceiling I'd stared at for 5 years. The calendar on the wall read December 20th, 2025. The exact day Liam came home with his promotion papers and the family relocation option. I sat up slowly. My hands weren't wrinkled yet. My back didn't ache from endless fieldwork. I was 30 again, not the broken 40-year-old version they'd buried in my last life. Heaven, hell, or some cosmic glitch had handed me a do-over, and I wasn't going to waste it being the dutiful mule they expected. Boots on the porch. The door creaked open. Liam Xander stepped in. Uniform crisp, medals gleaming. That practiced look of regret already on his face. He was still handsome in the way that made foolish women forgive too much. He took my hands like he had every right to them. Sophie, listen. The base gave me one family slot. I promised my brother on his deathbed I'd take care of Rachel. She's fragile. She can't handle hardship like you can. His voice was soft, earnest, the same script he'd used last time. 3 years. Baby. Just 3. Stay here. Keep things running. And I'll bring you to me, I swear. In my first life, I'd nodded, swallowed the lie, and waited 6 years that turned into forever. I'd worked the fields dawn to dusk, nursed his sick mother, sent every spare dollar to the base so Rachel could play delicate widow in military housing. And when I finally dragged myself there to beg for help, I found them living as husband and wife. Everyone knew. No one cared. This time I pulled my hands free. His eyes widened. No, I said. The single word hung in the air like a slap. Liam blinked. What do you mean, no? I mean, I'm not waiting. I'm not staying behind to play servant while you build a cozy little life with her. We're done. He laughed, short and disbelieving. Sophie, come on! You're upset about the gifts again. I bought you things. Mom just... I don't care about gifts. I care about respect. And you've never given me any. I stood, folding my arms. Take Rachel, take your mother. Take whoever you want, but leave me out of it. His face shifted from confusion to irritation. We're military married. You know what that means. You don't just walk away. We never registered, I said quietly. Never signed a single paper. In the eyes of the law, I'm nothing to you. And that's exactly what I plan to stay. The color drained from his cheeks. He hadn't expected me to know that detail. Not yet. In my last life, it took me years to figure it out. Sophie, you're tired. You've been working too hard. Let's talk when you're calmer. There's nothing left to talk about. I walked past him toward the kitchen. Diane's voice floated in from the porch, cooing over new clothes with Rachel's syrupy replies. Same play, different act. Different. Liam caught my arm. You love me. You've always loved me. I looked at his fingers digging into my skin and felt nothing but cold clarity. I loved a man who doesn't exist. The real you I'm done with. I pulled free and kept walking. Behind me, he stood frozen. The confident officer suddenly unsure which script to read next. Good. Let him scramble. Outside, rain kept falling. Inside, something in me had finally stopped. The next days were a masterclass in pretending everything was fine, while quietly dismantling their world. I stopped working. Completely. No dawn chores, no field labor, no scrubbing Diane's endless laundry. I slept until the sun was high, then strolled into the kitchen and ate whatever was on the table, taking the best pieces first. Eggs that used to be reserved for Rachel went into my bowl. Meat meant for Liam's plate ended up in my mouth. Diane exploded the first morning. Who raised you? A pack of wolves? Leave some for others. I chewed slowly. 5 years I left everything for others. My turn. Rachel watched with venom in her eyes, but said nothing. She knew better than to push when Liam was home on leave. Liam tried money first. He pressed $200 into my hand, more cash than I'd seen in years, and promised new clothes. When that didn't soften me, he tried guilt. You've changed, he said one night, cornering me in the hallway. The Sophie I married was understanding, supportive. The Sophie you married was a doormat, I replied. She's gone. He flinched like I'd struck him. Good. Rachel grew bolder in private. She cornered me while hanging laundry, voice dripping honey, playing hard to get. Huh, think it'll make him want you more. I smiled. If I'd played harder 5 years ago, I wouldn't be here now. Her face twisted. Enjoy your little rebellion. I'm the one going to the base. Legal family member or not, everyone will know who his real wife is. Funny, I said. That's exactly what you thought last time too. She went pale. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes, fear, but she recovered quickly and flounced away. That night, I found the bottle in her purse. Small, unmarked, labeled in smudged ink miracle oil. Enhances desire. Diane's handwriting on the tag. I almost laughed. Same cheap trick they'd tried before. In my last life, it worked. Rachel sleepwalked into Liam's room. Things happened. Guilt bonded them. And I stayed behind forever. This time I waited until the house slept, then swapped the contents for industrial glue I'd bought in town. Thick, fast setting. Impossible to separate once skin touched skin. I returned the bottle exactly as I'd found it and went to bed calm. The false peace held a few more days. Liam worked the fields himself, blisters forming, on hands that had forgotten manual labor. Diane and Rachel bickered over who had to cook. Meals came late and half-burned. I ate anyway, took the biggest portions, and retreated to my room. Liam's frustration grew. One evening he slammed into the kitchen, sweat-soaked and furious. This is ridiculous. We can't live like this. Diane jumped in immediately. It's her fault she's turned into a lazy... Enough. Liam cut her off. Eyes on me. Sophie, tomorrow we go register the marriage properly. You come to the base as my legal wife. That's what you want. Write respect papers. Rachel went rigid. Diane's mouth opened and closed like a fish. I set down my chopsticks, and Rachel stays here. Liam hesitated. For now, until she's stronger. I laughed softly. Same lie, new packaging? His jaw tightened. Take it or leave it. I stood. I'll leave it. Rachel's eyes gleamed with triumph. Diane looked ready to cheer. Liam just stared. Something new in his expression, panic. Maybe the first real crack in his certainty. That night I heard them arguing behind closed doors. Diane's shrill demands, Rachel's fake tears, Liam's low, frustrated voice trying to calm them both. I lay in the dark listening, fingers tracing the edge of the scissors under my pillow. They thought they still held all the cards. They were wrong. The storm was coming, and this time I was the one bringing the thunder. The plan was simple, vicious, and perfectly timed. Diane and Rachel believed they had cornered me with Liam's sudden offer to register the marriage and take me to the base. They couldn't risk it. That night, while Liam was out checking the fields, I slipped into the hospital ward where Diane was pretending to recover from her dramatic fall. The door was cracked just enough. Their voices carried clear and low. Diane whispered first, "Tonight's the last chance. I bought the incense and the miracle oil. Light it in Liam's room. Rub the oil on yourself. Then go to him. He'll lose control. Men always do when you push hard enough." Rachel's voice trembled with excitement and nerves. But what if he resists again like last night? "He won't," Diane hissed. "I'll keep Sophie busy. Once it's done, she'll have to accept it. Pregnant or not, she'll stay quiet to save face. And you'll be the one beside him when the next promotion comes." I stood in the shadow of the hallway, heart steady, rage cold. Same scheme, same cheap drugs, same belief that I would swallow humiliation again. I walked away before they noticed, returned home, and waited. Dinner was silent tension. Liam kept glancing at me, trying to read my face. Rachel smiled too sweetly. Diane complained about her mouth pain every 5 minutes. I ate quickly, excused myself with a headache, and locked my door. Hours later, the house settled. I lay awake, listening. Footsteps padded past my room, Diane leading Liam away with some excuse about needing help. Then silence. Then the faint scrape of a match, the whisper of incense smoke under doors. I counted minutes, 10, 15, 20. The scream came sharp and raw. First Rachel's high-pitched wail, then Liam's deeper roar of pain and panic. Bed springs creaked violently. Something heavy hit the floor. I was out of bed in seconds. Door flung open. Diane burst from her room at the same moment, eyes wide with real fear now. She tried to block me.
"Go back to bed," she snapped. "It's nothing."
Nothing. I raised my voice loud enough to carry through walls. Sounds like someone's getting murdered in there. Diane lunged to cover my mouth. I shoved her hard. She stumbled, hit the wall with a thud, and slid down, clutching her hip. Perfect. I screamed louder. Help, somebody help. There's blood. My mother-in-law fell. She can't get up. Lights flicked on in neighboring houses. Doors opened. Barefoot farmers in pajamas shuffled over through the mud. Flashlights cutting the dark. Diane scrambled to stop them, but I stepped on her outstretched hand just hard enough. She howled. The first neighbor reached the doorway and froze. More crowded behind him. Gasps rippled through the group. Liam and Rachel were fused together on the bedroom floor, sheets tangled, skin bonded by the glue I'd swapped in, faces contorted in agony. They couldn't separate no matter how they twisted. Clothes half torn, dignity gone. Someone muttered, "Lord have mercy." Another spat on the ground. Phones came out recording, flashing. Liam looked up, saw the crowd, saw me standing calm at the threshold. His mouth worked soundlessly. Rachel sobbed, trying to hide her face against his shoulder and failing. I let tears come real ones this time, hot and furious, and pushed through the neighbors until I stood over them. Why, I asked, voice breaking just enough. 5 years I worked like a dog for this family. 5 years I gave everything. And this is how you repay me. The crowd murmured anger. Someone shouted, "Disgraceful." Another called them names I'd never dared say aloud. Diane tried crawling forward to defend them, but neighbors held her back. She wailed about misunderstandings. No one listened. Liam reached a shaking hand toward me. "Sophie, call an ambulance, please." I looked down at that hand, the same one that had held Rachel's in my last life while I bled out and stepped back. "You made your choice, Liam. Now live with it." I turned to the crowd, voice carrying over the chaos. Everybody should know what kind of man Lieutenant Xander really is. What kind of widow his sister-in-law is. By the time the ambulance arrived, the story had already spread to 3 villages. Liam and Rachel were loaded onto stretchers still attached, wrapped in separate blankets that did nothing to hide the truth. Diane rode with them, screaming threats no one heeded. I stayed behind, packed a single bag, sold every chicken, duck, pig, and a piece of furniture that wasn't nailed down before dawn, and mailed an anonymous envelope thick with evidence photos neighbors had taken, witness statements, bank records showing Liam's salary funneled straight to Rachel to his commanding officer. Then I walked out of that house for the last time, rain washing the mud from my boots, heart finally, truly awake. The military moved fast once the scandal hit. Photos circulated on base bulletin boards before Liam even reached surgery. Officers who'd toasted his promotion now avoided his name. The investigation was swift and merciless. No defense for adultery caught so publicly. No excuse for bringing disgrace to the uniform. Liam was discharged within weeks. Rank stripped, benefits gone. He came home a broken man, face gray, eyes hollow. The house stood half empty. My absence a gaping wound. Diane and Rachel waited for him to fix everything like always. He couldn't. At first, they closed ranks. Diane cooked his favorite meals. Rachel played devoted nurse. But money ran out quickly. No salary, no pension, no savings. Everything I hadn't taken had gone to Rachel's clothes and comforts over the years. Bills piled up. The roof leaked. Fields went untended. Arguments started small over who forgot to buy rice, then exploded into daily warfare. Diane accused Rachel of seducing her son. Rachel accused Diane of ruining the plan with the wrong bottle. Liam drank whatever he could find and listened to both, saying nothing. One night, I learned later he found the letter. The real reason his older brother died, not an accident, but Rachel tampering with brakes because the brother had threatened to expose her affair with Liam. The letter had been hidden in Diane's drawer all these years. Liam read it drunk, sobered instantly, and never spoke of it until much later. Rachel tried to leave first. She packed a bag, whispered about finding a new man with prospects. Liam caught her at the bus stop, dragged her back, and forced a marriage certificate the next day. You wanted to be Mrs. Xander, he told her flatly. Now you are forever. Their life became a cage. Liam worked odd jobs construction, hauling hands that once saluted flags now blistered and bled. He came home exhausted and took every failure out on Rachel. Fists at first, then belts. She never fought back hard enough to win, only enough to keep him angrier. Diane watched the decay from her bed, health worsening without anyone to nurse her properly. She died 2 years in, bitter to the end, cursing me with her last breath. Rachel aged fast. The delicate widow became a gaunt, bruised woman, hauling water and scrubbing floors, the same chores I'd done for years. Neighbors pitied her at first, then ignored her. No one visited the Xander house anymore. Meanwhile, I built something new. The money from livestock and furniture became seed capital. I moved to Austin, took online courses at night, started a small natural skincare line using recipes I'd learned from years gathering herbs to survive. First sales came slow, then steady, then surged. Within 5 years, I owned 3 storefronts and a warehouse. Employees called me boss. Bankers called for meetings. I called my own shots. I dated sparingly, trusted even less. Until Ethan, a quiet engineer who'd served under Liam years earlier and left the military disillusioned by men like him. Ethan never pushed, never lied, never asked me to shrink myself. We built something slow and solid. 10 years after that night of screams, I drove back to the village in a car Rachel could never imagine. I wore a simple dress, hairstyled, no longer hiding calluses that had long since softened. Villagers gathered, curious about the success story who'd escaped. Rachel saw me from the field, hoe in hand, face weathered beyond her years. She tried to slip away. I stepped into her path. "Long time," I said. She couldn't meet my eyes. I kept my voice low. "Only for her. That bottle you trusted, I switched it. The report that ended his career. My handwriting on the envelope. Every year you've suffered, I arranged the first domino. The rest you did to yourselves." Hatred flashed across her face, then crumbled into exhaustion. "You won," she whispered. "No," I said. "I just stopped losing." I walked past her toward the family graves, laid flowers for ancestors who'd never known what their name became, and left the village behind again. Behind me, Rachel ran home with the story, desperate for Liam to finally kill me and free her. She didn't know he'd already decided whose blood would pay the final debt. But that part wasn't mine to finish anymore. 10 years can reshape a person entirely. I was no longer the woman who woke up terrified in that cramped bedroom on December 20th, 2025. The money I took from the Xander house had been modest, but it was mine, earned through years of unpaid labor. I invested it carefully online courses in business and formulation, late nights testing herbal recipes in a tiny Austin apartment, farmers markets on weekends selling handmade salves and oils. The brand grew slowly. At first, 1 loyal customer became 10, 10 became 100. By year 5, I had a proper production space, employees who called me Ms., white with genuine respect, and shelves in boutique stores across Texas. Success didn't come gift-wrapped. There were seasons of doubt, failed batches, loans I nearly defaulted on. I made mistakes, trusted the wrong supplier once, almost lost everything to a bad partnership. But every setback taught me something the Xander house never did. I could stand alone and still stand tall. I dated cautiously. Most men sensed the steel under my smile and backed away. A few tried to chip at it. None succeeded. Then Ethan walked into a charity auction I sponsored for veterans' families. Tall, quiet, with kind eyes and a slight limp from an old deployment injury. He'd served under Liam years earlier. Left the military after witnessing too many officers like him, men who preached honor while hiding rot. Ethan never asked for my story all at once. He listened in pieces over coffee, then dinner, then long drives through hill country. When I finally told him everything, the death, the rebirth, the glue, the report, he didn't flinch or call me crazy. He simply took my hand and said, "You survived hell and built heaven anyway. That's rarer than any metal, than any." We moved slowly. No grand gestures, no promises too soon. He met my guarded heart with patience. I met his quiet wounds with space. We married on a weekday in a small courthouse. Just us and 2 friends as witnesses. No white dress, no reception, just rings and a shared look that said, "Enough." 2 years later, our daughter arrived. Dark-haired and fierce, followed 18 months after by our son, already stubborn at crawling age. I learned motherhood the way I'd learned business through trial, exhaustion, and unexpected joy. The village called sometimes, old neighbors curious about the girl who escaped. I went back only when duty demanded clearing the family graves, settling lingering land paperwork. Each visit I braced for ghosts. They never came. The Xander house had fallen into disrepair. Windows boarded, yard overgrown. Liam and Rachel were still there, bound by the certificate he'd forced, and the hatred that had replaced whatever twisted affection once existed. I saw Rachel first on this trip. She was in the lower field, bent over rows of corn, clothes patched and faded, hair streaked gray though she was barely 40. Her hands, once soft and idle, were cracked and scarred. She straightened when my car pulled up, eyes narrowing against the sun. Recognition hit her like a slap. She dropped the hoe and tried to retreat behind the stalks. I stepped out, heels sinking slightly in the dirt, and walked straight to her. Rachel. She froze, shoulders hunching as if expecting a blow. Up close, the damage was worse. Cheekbones sharp from weight loss, a scar running from temple to jaw. Liam's work, no doubt. She couldn't meet my eyes. "You came to gloat," she muttered. "No," I said. "I came for the graves. You just happened to be in my way." Her head snapped up then, hatred flaring bright before crumbling into something raw. How do you get everything while I—" Her voice cracked. I answered honestly, "Because I stopped waiting for someone else to give me a life. You never did." She laughed, bitter and broken. "You think I wanted this?" That night was supposed to bind him to me forever. Instead, it chained me to a monster. "You planned it," I reminded her softly. "The incense, the oil, the lies about sleepwalking. You just didn't expect the wrong bottle." Her face twisted. "So you admit it. You switched them." "Yes, no point denying it now. I heard you and Diane plotting in the hospital. I decided forever could belong to both of you instead." She stared, chest heaving, then whispered, "I hope you rot." I almost smiled. Too late. I already did once. This time I'm living. I stepped around her and kept walking toward the cemetery. Behind me, she picked up the hoe again, movements jerky with rage or grief. I didn't look back to find out. Rachel ran home that afternoon, convinced she'd finally found the key to freedom. She burst into the dim kitchen where Liam sat nursing a bottle, eyes bloodshot. The man who'd once worn a crisp uniform now slumped in stained clothes. She spilled everything: my confession about the glue, the anonymous report, my car and family and success. She painted me as the architect of their ruin, the one obstacle left. In her mind, if Liam killed me, he'd go to prison and she'd be widowed again, free to find another man with prospects. Liam listened without interrupting, face unreadable. When she finished, breathless and triumphant, he stood slowly, reached for the axe leaning by the door. Rachel's eyes lit with vicious hope. But karma has its own arithmetic. The first swing took her left leg below the knee. The second severed the right. Blood sprayed across the dirt floor as she screamed, shock turning to terror when she realized the target had never been me. Liam looked down at her writhing form, voice flat and final. "You killed my brother to get to me. You turned me into this. And now you want to use me one more time, no." He dropped the axe and walked out, leaving her bleeding and alone. Neighbors heard the screams, called emergency services. Police arrived with the ambulance. Rachel was rushed to surgery, both legs gone, future reduced to wheels and regret. Liam sat on the porch steps waiting for the cuffs, calm for the first time in years. Word reached me 2 days later. I was at the graves again, Ethan beside me, kids playing quietly among the wildflowers. A deputy I'd known as a teenager approached hesitantly, hat in hand, and told me what happened. When he finished, I nodded once, laid the last bouquet, and took my family's hands. We drove out of the village as the sun set behind us. In the rearview mirror, the Xander house looked smaller than ever, a crumbling monument to choices that could never be undone. Ethan glanced over. "You okay?"
I thought about the girl who died on a military base floor, betrayed and broken. I thought about the woman who'd woken up 10 years earlier with rage sharp enough to cut chains. I thought about Rachel's severed future and Liam's coming trial, and the quiet life I'd built instead.
Yeah, I said, I'm better than okay.
Our daughter asked from the back seat why the old house looked sad. I told her some places hold too many bad memories, and it's best to leave them behind. She accepted that, turned to her coloring book. Simple truths for simple hearts.
That night in our Austin home, windows opened to cool December air, the exact date circled on the calendar. Without me realizing, Ethan poured wine and asked if I needed anything. I set my glass down, pulled him close, and answered the only way that felt true. I have everything. Outsee. The city hummed with ordinary lives. Insate, my children slept safely. My husband held me without demand. And the past finally stayed where it belonged, buried deep, lessons learned, debts paid by those who owed them. I didn't forgive Liam or Rachel. I didn't need to. Karma had spoken clearer than mercy ever could. And for the first time in 2 lifetimes, I slept without dreaming of blood.